The principal's voice boomed across the crowded auditorium, sending a chill down Viviana's spine. For your blatant disregard of school conduct and community standards by engaging in an inappropriate same-sex relationship on school grounds, both Viviana Ramirez and Vanessa Thompson are hereby expelled effective immediately. The words hit like a slap, and in that moment, as gasps filled the room and eyes turned to the two girls holding hands in the back row, Viviana knew their secret love had just cost them everything. Vanessa squeezed her hand tighter, her blue eyes filling with tears, but Viviana's heart burned with defiance. This was only the beginning of the nightmare. Security escorted them out while whispers turned into shouts. "Disgusting," someone muttered. "How could they?" another voice added. Outside, the Ohio spring air felt colder than winter. Viviana, 17 with long dark waves and fire in her brown eyes, turned to Vanessa, the blonde girl who had been her best friend since freshman year, and so much more in secret for the last 6 months. "We'll figure this out," Viviana said, voice steady even as her stomach twisted. Vanessa nodded, but her lips trembled. They had been caught kissing behind the bleachers after practice, a single moment of bravery that shattered their world. By evening the news had spread through Ridgewood, a conservative town of 20,000 where everyone knew everyone. Viviana's phone exploded with texts from relatives demanding explanations. Her father, a strict Catholic deacon, met her at the door with a face like stone. "You are no daughter of mine if you continue this abomination," he said, voice low and final. He gave her 1 hour to pack. Vanessa fared little better. Her mother, a nurse who had always preached tolerance, broke down in sobs. "Think of your future, baby. Colleges won't touch you now. People will talk." Vanessa's father simply stared at the floor, ashamed to meet her eyes. That night both girls slept in Viviana's old car in a Walmart parking lot, sharing a single blanket and the last of their savings from part-time jobs. The next weeks blurred into survival. They applied for GEDs, worked double shifts at a diner, and faced constant judgment. A former classmate posted their photo online with the caption "Ridgewood's shame." Comments flooded in, some vicious, some pitying. Viviana's younger brother secretly slipped her money once, but when their father found out, the boy was grounded for a month. Vanessa tried calling her mother for help with college applications only to hear, "I can't be seen supporting this, honey. It's tearing the family apart." The isolation pressed down like a weight. Yet every night, curled together in cheap motel rooms when they could afford them, they whispered promises. "We choose us," Viviana would say. "No matter what." Vanessa would nod, but doubt flickered in her eyes, a quiet fear that love might not be enough against the world. By summer they had scraped together enough to rent a tiny studio in Columbus, an hour away. Viviana took a job at a tech startup as a receptionist, lying about her age and diploma. Vanessa enrolled in community college at night while waitressing. The pressure built. Viviana's family cut all contact. Her mother mailed a single letter begging her to repent and come home alone. Vanessa's parents offered tuition money only if she agreed to therapy and normal dating. The choice hung between them like a blade. One night, after a particularly brutal shift, Vanessa whispered, "Maybe if we just pretended for a while, we could get back on track." Viviana's chest tightened. "Pretend what?" "That I don't love you." The argument lasted hours, ending in tears and apologies, but the crack had formed. They had paid the first price for their truth. The slow erosion of the only safety they had left. Months turned into years, and the girls became women in the trenches of real life. At 19, Viviana landed a coding bootcamp scholarship after teaching herself HTML on library computers. Vanessa transferred to a state university on loans, studying pre-law by day and working nights. Their studio apartment in Columbus became a war room of dreams and doubts. Society's eyes never left them. When they held hands in public, stares followed. When they kissed goodbye at bus stops, strangers muttered slurs. Once, a landlord refused to renew their lease after learning they were that couple from Ridgewood. They moved again, always one step ahead of judgment. The betrayals cut deepest from those they once trusted. Their old friend Marcus, who had sworn secrecy in high school, sold their story to a local blogger for quick cash. The article painted them as reckless teens who destroyed their futures for sin. Viviana's aunt forwarded it with the note, "See what you've done to the family name." Vanessa's cousin, now a teacher at Ridgewood High, posted on Facebook that some choices have consequences the school was right to enforce. The girls stopped checking social media. Instead, they poured everything into each other and their goals. Viviana coded late into the night, building an app that connected LGBTQ youth with safe housing. Vanessa volunteered at a legal aid clinic, helping teens fight discriminatory expulsions. Their love became armor and fuel. Yet internal storms raged. Viviana carried guilt for dragging Vanessa into poverty. "You could have gone to Ohio State if it wasn't for me," she said one rainy evening after another rejection letter. Vanessa cupped her face. "I chose you then and I choose you now." But the words felt heavier each time. Vanessa secretly applied for an internship in Chicago that required traditional values references. When she was offered the spot, she turned it down without telling Viviana, terrified the secret would surface. The moral weight pressed. Was staying together noble or selfish? Was leaving the only way to give the other a better life? They argued again, voices raw. "I won't let them win by breaking us apart," Viviana insisted. Vanessa cried. "But what if staying destroys us anyway?" They made up in the dark, clinging tighter, but the question lingered like smoke. By 22 they had clawed into better lives. Viviana's app went viral after a feature in a national LGBTQ magazine, attracting investors. She moved to New York and Vanessa followed, transferring to NYU Law. The city swallowed them in its chaos, offering anonymity they had never known. Yet old ghosts followed. A Ridgewood alumni group started a petition against immoral donors, referencing their names in whispers. Viviana's father died of a heart attack without ever speaking to her again. The funeral invitation arrived marked regretfully declined. Vanessa's mother showed up unannounced at their Brooklyn apartment, begging her daughter to come home and fix this. The visit ended in slammed doors and fresh wounds. Success tasted bittersweet. They had money now, but the price was every bridge burned behind them. At 25, Viviana stood on a stage in Manhattan, accepting an award for her tech startup that had revolutionized mental health support for queer teens. Vanessa watched from the front row, now a rising associate at a top firm specializing in civil rights. Their apartment overlooked the Hudson, a far cry from the Walmart parking lot. Yet the past refused to stay buried. Old classmates reached out on LinkedIn with fake congratulations laced with curiosity. "Heard you two are still together, crazy how life works." Viviana deleted every message. The anger had calcified into purpose. She poured millions into scholarships for expelled students, never naming the source. Vanessa handled the legal battles, suing districts for similar cases. Their work became their quiet revenge. But cracks widened. Viviana's success demanded travel. Vanessa's caseload kept her in courtrooms. Nights apart stretched into weeks. During one separation, Vanessa met a kind male colleague who offered the normal life her family still prayed for. She didn't act on it, but the temptation haunted her. She confessed over a late-night call. "I love you, but sometimes I wonder if we're punishing ourselves by refusing to let go." Viviana's silence lasted too long. "If you leave, I won't stop you. But I won't pretend either." The fight that followed was their worst yet. Vanessa flew home early, and they spent 3 days barely speaking, each replaying every sacrifice. Lost family holidays, empty seats at graduations, the constant fear of being outed at work. In the end, they chose each other again, but the decision carried new weight. Love was no longer just passion. It was a daily act of defiance against their own doubts. Meanwhile, back in Ridgewood, the high school crumbled. Budget cuts, declining enrollment, and aging infrastructure turned the building into a safety hazard. The principal who had expelled them retired but remained on the board. Local news ran stories about the dying heart of our community. Viviana read the article on a flight and felt something shift. She showed it to Vanessa that night. "What if we bought the place?" Vanessa laughed at first, then grew quiet. "You mean rebuild it?" The idea lodged between them, dangerous and seductive. It meant returning to the scene of their greatest humiliation. It meant facing every person who had turned away. But it also meant rewriting the ending. For weeks they debated ethics and motives. Was it forgiveness or victory? Healing or revenge? The moral tangle consumed them. Viviana argued it would save future kids like them. Vanessa feared it would reopen every scar. In the end, they wired the first anonymous million through a foundation, watching from afar as construction cranes appeared on the news. The donation made headlines. Mystery philanthropists save Ridgewood High. Viviana and Vanessa monitored every update from New York, hearts pounding each time their old town appeared on screen. They kept their names hidden for months, letting the school board scramble for answers. Inside, the conflict tore at them. Viviana woke at 3 a.m. replaying the expulsion, the way the principal had looked at them like dirt. "We owe them nothing," she muttered in the dark. Vanessa, ever the lawyer, countered. "But those kids today owe us everything." Their arguments grew sharper, laced with 15 years of accumulated pain. Friends in the city warned them, "Don't go back. Some places only know how to hurt you." Yet the pull was undeniable. Betrayal arrived from an unexpected corner. Their former classmate Elena, now the school's development director, discovered the donors' identities through financial records. She called Vanessa late one night, voice dripping with false sweetness. "I always knew you two would amount to something, or was it spite money?" The conversation escalated. Elena admitted she had been the one who tipped off the principal all those years ago, jealous of their closeness. "I thought I was protecting the school," she said. Vanessa hung up shaking. When she told Viviana, the rage was immediate. "She ruined us for nothing." They flew to Ohio the next day, confronting Elena in a coffee shop near the construction site. Words flew like knives. Elena cried, claiming she had changed. Viviana walked out, but Vanessa stayed a moment longer, seeing her own past fear reflected in Elena's eyes. The meeting left them raw. Had they become the very thing they hated by holding grudges? Family pressure resurfaced like a ghost. Vanessa's mother, now widowed, showed up at their hotel. "The whole town is talking. Please just come home for one dinner. They're saying you're trying to buy forgiveness." Viviana refused to attend. Vanessa went alone and faced an ambush. Cousins, aunts, even her father's old friends. "You destroyed your mother's health," one uncle said. Vanessa left in tears, the old shame flooding back. That night she and Viviana held each other in silence. "I almost walked away again," Vanessa admitted. "For them." Viviana stroked her hair. "But you didn't." That's the difference 15 years made. The confession deepened their bond even as it exposed the cost. Every choice to stay together had meant choosing distance from blood. Construction progressed. The new building rose sleek and modern, glass walls replacing the old brick fortress. Reporters dug deeper, and rumors linked the donors to the infamous expelled couple. Viviana and Vanessa knew the reveal was coming. They prepared statements, rehearsed confrontations, and questioned their own hearts. Was this generosity or a final middle finger to the past? The night before the public announcement, they sat on the hotel balcony overlooking the half-finished campus. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Viviana said, "we walk in as the women we became, not the girls they broke." Vanessa nodded, but inside she wondered if the school would ever truly belong to them again. The auditorium had been rebuilt first, shiny new seats and a state-of-the-art stage. 15 years after their expulsion, Viviana and Vanessa stood at the podium in front of cameras, town officials, and the same faces that once condemned them. Viviana spoke first, voice clear and strong. "We were told our love had no place here. Today we proved that love can rebuild what hate tried to tear down." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The retired principal, now frail in a wheelchair, stared straight ahead. Elena sat in the front row, pale. Vanessa took the microphone next. "We didn't come back for applause. We came back so no other girl has to sleep in her car because she dared to hold another girl's hand." The room fell silent, then erupted in mixed applause and murmurs. After the ceremony came the private meetings. The current principal, a younger woman hired during the rebuild, offered awkward thanks. "We've updated our policies," she said. Viviana smiled tightly. Policies change. Hearts take longer. Later, in a quiet hallway, the retired principal approached. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I followed the board and the parents. I'm sorry." Viviana's throat tightened. She had rehearsed 1,000 cutting replies, but the old man's trembling hands disarmed her. Vanessa touched her arm, reminding her of their promise. No more unnecessary pain. They accepted the apology without warmth, but accepted it. The moment felt like shedding armor they had worn for half their lives. Family arrived uninvited. Viviana's mother, older and smaller than memory, waited outside with a small bouquet. "Your brother told me everything," she whispered. "I should have fought for you." Tears came, but Viviana kept distance. "You chose the town over me."
I chose mes elfes.
The words hurt them both, yet carried no cruelty. Vanessa's mother hugged her tightly, apologizing for years of silence. The reunions were messy, incomplete, and real. No one walked away fixed, but something shifted. The price of their success had been isolation. The price of this return was reopening old wounds so they could finally scar properly. That evening, alone in their hotel, the women processed the day. "We could have stayed in New York and never looked back," Vanessa said. Viviana pulled her close. "But then we'd still be running." They talked until dawn about every decision. The night they almost separated, the friend who betrayed them, the families that failed them. Each choice had carried a cost, yet each had led them here, hand in hand, stronger. The moral grayness remained. Had they forgiven too easily? Had they used their money as a weapon? The questions had no easy answers, only the quiet certainty that they had chosen love over bitterness one more time. The ribbon-cutting ceremony drew the entire town. Sunlight glinted off the new glass facade of Ridgewood High, American flags snapping in the breeze. Viviana and Vanessa stood side by side as students cheered and cameras flashed. A group of current queer teens approached shyly, thanking them for the new LGBTQ support center inside the building. One girl, no older than they had been, hugged Vanessa. "You showed us we don't have to hide." In that moment, every sacrifice crystallized into purpose. The old pain didn't vanish, but it no longer controlled them. As the crowd thinned, they walked the empty hallways one last time. Lockers gleamed where theirs once stood. The bleachers where they had shared their first kiss were gone, replaced by a green courtyard. Viviana stopped at the spot. "We paid so much to stand here again." Vanessa smiled softly. "And we'd pay it all over." They kissed openly, unafraid, under the same sky that had once witnessed their exile. No one stared. No one whispered. The school they had lost had become the one they rebuilt brick by brick, choice by choice. Driving away at sunset, hands linked across the console, they left Ridgewood behind. The town would remember them differently now, not as the scandal but as the women who refused to let it define them. Success, love, forgiveness, none of it had come free. They had lost families, friends, innocence. They had questioned their own worth and each other's commitment. Yet here they were, whole. The road stretched toward New York and whatever came next, but the past no longer chased them. Was it right to return and rebuild the very place that once tried to erase them? Or should some doors stay closed forever so the heart can finally heal?